Hello, and we're back again reading Report to the Principal's Office by Jerry Spinelli. We left off on chapter 12 where Hillary and Sonny were fussing about not getting to get together. Sonny didn't get kicked out or expelled from school so that she can go to Hillary's school. And then Eddie and Pickles were raising the flag, and Pickles pulled out an old bugle and was playing Reveille. And out walks a teacher, another player, another character. So let's see who it is, all right? I know I kind of gave it away, maybe a teacher. In chapter 13, let's read on. The waddling figure was Arnold Wolfgang Humpseldorf, or, as he was known to generations of Cedar Grove music students, Lips. Lips Humpseldorf was a long-life resident of Cedar Grove, and in fact had attended Cedar Grove Junior High before it became a middle school. A look at school photographs from the years 1942 to 1945 would reveal an Arnold Humpseldorf with a perfectly ordinary-looking mouth. I wonder what happened. Neither hereditary nor accident of birth was responsible for Humpseldorf's Knockworth's lower lip, nor was it the woodwinds, and certainly not the percussion. No, it was the brass. 40 years of teaching the trumpet, the trombone, the French horn, and his favorite, the tuba. 40 years of snatching students' instruments and demonstrating. 40 years of kissing mouthpieces that had been spit, snivelled, and slurped onto by 40 years of coughing, sneezing, wheezing, flu-infested students. That's kind of gross. 40 years. Bitter? Why should he be bitter? Because all he had to show for 40 years of teaching musical clunkheads was a lower lip that hung like a plum, a salami. Because it presented to the wind a surface as broad as a snail, so that he was in constant danger of getting chapped gums, because of which he had to continually moisten the lip, make it gleam, because sometimes students would come up close to him and whip out their combs, believing they could use his lip as a mirror. No, the fact is, Humpseldorf seldom gave his lower lip a thought. To him, it was no different than anyone else's lip. The source of Humpseldorf's bitterness could be found 5 blocks away in Cedar Grove Senior High School. After many years of glory and prizes and even an appearance in the Orange Bowl parade, the high school band had fallen on hard times. Last year, only 14 members marched out for the half-times of football games. A disgrace, blared the newspaper. It's embarrassing, wailed the alumni. There's not enough music in the middle school, proclaimed the president of the school board. And so the blame was dumped on Lips Humpseldorf. He was called too old, out of step. A young stud music major, fresh out of college, was brought onto Cedar Grove Middle School, and Lips was bumped over to the new place, Plumstead. Not the bargain it appeared to be. Improve the instrumental program, he was told. Beef up the numbers, he was ordered. They bought new instruments for the college stud and left Humpseldorf with the horns and drums he had been using for half a century. That's not fair. That is why Lips was waddling out to this young bugler. He hadn't actually heard anything from inside, for his hearing, of all things, was going bad. He simply happened to be looking out a window and saw the boy, Ramrod, straight like a private in boot camp, with the bugle to his lips. And now, as he hurried outside, the last few notes lingered on his imperfect ears like the music of the gods. You play the trumpet? He asked the boy, gasping. No, the boy answered. You play the bugle? You play the trumpet, Lips said. Where'd you learn to play? The boy shrugged. Just did. Humseldorf's heart chimed. A born talent. Maybe genius. You're coming out for band, Lips told him. I am. Everybody is coming out for band. Eddie thought he was kidding. During second period music, he found out he wasn't. As Eddie walked into the music room, Humseldorf dropped a trombone into his arms. Eddie tried to return it. I'm sorry, sir, but I don't play this. You will, said Lips, pushing it back. Next! Eddie took a seat. Salem Brownmiller and Sonny Weiler came in. The teacher gave Salem a drum and Sonny a clarinet. Sonny didn't move. She scowled at the clarinet. He held out the mouth end, and the reed was chipped and splintered and pink from lipstick. I'm not putting my mouth on this, she said, setting the clarinet down. I'm not playing anything I have to put my mouth on. Fine, said Hummelsdorf. He reached onto the box by his side. Here. He handed her a pair of cymbals. Sonny snatched them and headed for a seat. She was wearing the Death to Mushrooms t-shirt, now with a Sloppy Joe hamster paw print. Salem spotted Eddie and took a seat next to him. In amazement, they kept their eyes on the front of the room. To the kids now coming into class, Hummeldorf was handing out kazoos and metal buckets and spoons and empty soda bottles and whistles and washboards. To the last bunch he gave long, thin rubber bands. Eddie noted that Hummeldorf was no taller standing still than he had been waddling out to the flagpole. His head jutted forward, his back curved, his shoulders drooped, and his pot belly pouted over his belt like a second lower lip. His shape reminded Eddie of kidney bean, he whispered to Salem. Salem frowned in confusion. Then she looked at the music teacher, and the frown gave way to a broad grin. If people were vegetables. Salem frowned in confusion. Then she looked at the music teacher. At that moment, a shrieking blast paralyzed the room. Hummelsdorf had put a trumpet to his lips and blown a call to doomsday. 36 graders froze in mid-motion, mid-word. That's how I bring a class to order, Hummelsdorf told them. And now I will tell you what we are going to do with the trumpets I handed out. As you know, a short time from now, we will have our first assembly. Mr. Brimslow, the principal, has asked me to provide music for the occasion. Well, I will provide the music, and you will provide the music. He stretched out his arms. We will all provide the music. He went on to tell them he was being blamed for the puny size of the high school band, and that he had been ordered to beef up the music program. Well, he said, we are going to do better than that. When the curtain opens for the music that day, every single student in the school will be on stage for the first time in history. A whole school will be in the band. Oh. He paused to observe their reaction. Nobody seemed too impressed. He told them he had composed a special piece of music for the event, and that he would teach every student in Plumstead how to do one or two things on their instruments, no matter what it was. For the rest of the period, Hummeldorf went from student to student, demonstrating a twang here, a bang there, a toot, a bong, a tweet. With Salem, he showed her how to stutter the stick on the drumskin. Hold it loose, he told her. That's the secret. Pretend your wrist is a rubber. He showed her. Burp. On the third try, she did it. With Eddie, he ignored the trombone at first and worked on Eddie's face like a sculptor with clay. He molded Eddie's cheeks and shaped his mouth till Eddie was sure he looked like a guppy. Then he put the horn on Eddie's hand and pressed the mouthpiece to his lips and said, "Okay, blow." Eddie blew. Nothing happened but a faintly metallic gasp. Hummeldorf shaped Eddie's lips around the silvery circle of the mouthpiece. "Bring the air up from your feet," he said. "This is not a mouth, it's a nozzle. Squirt the air out. Blast it. Blow!" Eddie blew. The sound that he heard and that the rest of the class heard was the death moo of a constipated cow. But to Hummelsdorf, declining ear, it was a perfectly acceptable note. "Fine," he said, and moved on. When he came to Sunny Weiler and told her to beat the cymbals, she replied, "No." Hummelsdorf blinked. "What?" "No." "N-O? That's no?" "Right." Hummelsdorf felt the room fall still and silent about him. He looked her over. She didn't seem to have a physical problem. The T-shirt with "Death to the Mushroom" and a tiny orange paw print was no more ridiculous than most kids' clothes these days. The only really remarkable thing about her was that surly face. It could crack a mirror. "Why not?" he asked her, holding his temper as "Is it against your belief or something?" The girl stared back at him. "I don't want to." This was truly a new one. Not that he had ever encountered uncooperative students before, but usually they were sneaky, behind-your-back types. Eyeball lasers from 36th graders scorched his skin. He could not allow her to win. "Well," he said, aiming for a tone that was both calm and firm. "Unfortunately, it's not up to you, young lady. It's up to me. I have music for the program." He pointed to a stack of paper on his desk, and somewhere in there, towards the end, it says "Cymbals." "Cymbals is you. When we are on stage on September 18th, and I point to you, you will bang the cymbals. Do you understand?" "No," she said. "You will do it," he said. "I won't do it," she said. Amid the barely breathing class, they stared at each other. The music teacher changed colors. His neck reddened. His lower lip acquired a bluish tint. They were like that for perhaps a full minute. Then the bell rang. The girl stood. The music teacher jabbed a finger in her face. "You will." She jabbed a finger at him. "I won't," and walked out. Ooh, that was pretty intense. So I wonder what's going to happen when she comes back to class. What's Hummeldorf going to do? I mean, the teacher has to be the teacher, and she is awfully bold. So we'll have to see what's going to happen in chapter 14. I will see you there. Goodbye.